Greetings, Exile. It's me, the guy who makes off meta trash builds that nobody asks for. Bringing you the final update on my Bleed Ignite Gemling, the Reverse Cauterizer. As you have already seen in the showcase, he is now literally melting bosses and even handling 200% delirium with ease, something that people have been quite skeptical about. The build is now much tankier and deals 5 times more damage than before. In this entire build, we use only 2 uniques. One is the Blistering Bond and the other is the Saitha Spear. Let's start with Blistering Bond first. This string is the real enabler of this build, as it causes the fire damage to contribute towards bleed magnitude and even changes the bleed damage type from physical to fire. This means that flat fire damage, increased fire damage, and generally any modifier that increases elemental damage will also scale our bleed damage. It also gives our bleed a free microtransaction because any enemy that's bleeding looks like it's drenched in lava. Next, let's talk about Saitha Spear. This weapon has a chance to aggravate bleeding on hit, but it also has a very special property that practically doubles our damage. Whenever we aggravate bleeding with this weapon, it also aggravates the ignite on the target. And just like aggravated bleed deals double damage, and aggravated ignite also deals double damage. So, for almost no additional investment, we're effectively doubling our overall DPS. Now, to take full advantage of this interaction, we need a skill that converts most of its damage to fire while also having a very high attack damage scaling, since both bleed and ignite scale heavily from the average damage of the hit that applies them. This is where Perfect Strike comes in. It's actually the perfect skill for this build, as it converts 80% of its damage to fire while also having very high attack damage scaling. Normally, this skill takes up to 2 to 3 business days to finish channeling, but as a Gemling, Advanced Thaumaturgy unlocks alternate quality gems, allowing us to gain up to 72% more attack speed with 36% gem quality, making the channel time dramatically faster. There is one downside though. As your attack speed increases, the perfectly timed release window also becomes shorter, making it much harder to land the perfect strike for maximum damage. Fortunately, there are few ways to make this easier: the Opportunity Unique Flask and the Salu's Rhythm support. Both increase the duration of your perfect timing window. The support also rewards you with even more damage for releasing it perfectly. Lastly, in PoE 2, ignite damage is affected by target's fire resistance. Since Blistering Bond converts our bleed damage to fire as well, bleed benefits from this mechanic too. This means effects like elemental weakness and elemental exposure, which reduce our target's elemental resistance, increase the damage of both our bleed and ignite. However, fire penetration, elemental penetration, and Lakiata's flow have no effect on ailments, so they won't decrease our bleed or ignite damage. First, we have Mace Strike linked to Rapid Attacks 3, Rage 3, Blink 2, Stun 3, and Close Combat 2 support. You will barely use this skill. Next, we have Raise Shield linked to Steadfast 2, Brink 2, Mobility, Deadly Resolve, and Stern's Mountain support. Use this in dire situations when you get completely surrounded by monsters and have no way out. After that, we have Stampede linked to Rapid Attacks 3, Stun 3, Brink 2, Knockback, and Stomping Ground support. Use this skill to easily prime your enemies for heavy stun. Then we have Bone Shatter linked to Impact Shockwave, Ancestral Call 2, Magnified Area 2, Enduring Impact 2, and Behead 2. Use this to heavy stun prime monsters and to produce massive shockwave for map clear. After that, we have Perfect Strike linked to Close Combat 2, Elemental Armament 2, Concentrated Area, Window of Opportunity, and the Salu's Rhythm support. This will be our main skill for bossing, and you already know what it does. Next is Rake linked to Rapid Attacks 3, Rage 3, Ancestral Call 2, Volcanic Eruption, and Bleed Force support. The only purpose of this skill is to quickly aggravate bleeding and ignite. Use it once the target is both ignited and bleeding from perfectly landed Perfect Strike. After that, we have Infernal Cry linked to Raging Cry, Tireless, Cooldown Recovery 2, Echoing Cry, and Fire Mastery. Use this to empower your Perfect Strike to deal a lot more damage. Lastly, we have Ancestral Cry linked to Prolonged Duration 2, Perpetual Charge, Heightened Charges, Close Combat 2, and Zerfi's Infamy. Usually, this skill requires you to ignite the target to generate glory, but with Zerfi's Infamy, you can generate glory by spending life on other skills. Use this to boost your damage for bossing and gain a lot of clear potential while mapping. For persistent buffs, we use Herald of Ash, Herald of Blood, Time of Need, and Magma Barrier. As a bonus, to boost your damage while bossing, you can swap out Herald of Blood for Elemental Weakness. Now, let's take a good look at our equipment. But before we do that, keep in mind that the gear I'm about to show you is absolutely min-maxed. This was my last build of the league, so I went kind of nuts with crafting. You don't need the exact gear though, so just focus on the modifiers that I'm about to point out. The rest of the information, including some crafting tips, can also be found on the Mobility Guide. Let's start with our weapon. It's a very high physical damage base. In its prefixes, you would want increased physical damage, flat physical damage, and extra fire damage. You can settle for flat lightning or even flat fire damage if you don't already have flat physical damage. For suffixes, look for at least +3 to melee skills, increased ailment magnitude, and reduced attribute requirement. Finding a weapon like this can be tough, so I've written all the crafting steps for it in notes section of the Mobility Guide. Next is our shield, which has pretty high armor. In the prefixes, the modifier you want the most is T1 increase block chance. This is very crucial for us to reach maximum block chance. For the other two modifiers, they can either be maximum life or armor or whatever you prefer. For suffixes, you would want resistances, and either armor applies to elemental damage or strength. Now for the gear in our weapon swap. First we have Saitha spear. Look for a corrupted one with high chance to aggravate bleeding and 2 sockets so you can convert most of its dexterity requirement into strength. In the offhand, we have a shield whose only purpose is to give us dexterity. Here we have dexterity on the shield and dexterity on both runes socketed into it. You will need a total of 84 dexterity to wield the spear with giant's blood. After that, we have our body armor, which has quite high armor. In the prefixes, you would want as much armor as possible, and in the suffixes, look for resistances, strength, and armor applies to elemental damage. You will need to socket an Aldor rune for a Adarian Tusk to cap out your bleed chance. You can acquire this by socketing an Aldor Legacy rune into Adarian Tusk unique body armor. But let me warn you, the rune is quite expensive, so if you don't have it, you will have to improvise with bleed 3 on most skills. Next is our exceptional helmet with 2 sockets. In the prefix, you would want maximum life and a berserk modifier that grants increased glory generation, which only appears when you socket a Warner's Carnage rune into it. In the suffixes, look for resistances, armor applies to elemental damage, or strength. Socket in a Raven Touch shard and anointed with defensive stance if you need more defense, or deterioration if you need more damage. After that, we have our boots. In the prefixes, you would want maximum life and at least 30% increased movement speed. For the suffixes, look for strength, armor applies to elemental damage, and spirit. The last piece of our armor is the gloves. In the prefix, you would want maximum life and either flat lightning or increased ailment magnitude. For the suffix, you would want +2 to melee skills, resistances, and increased ailment magnitude. Finding a pair of gloves like this is going to be almost impossible. So I have written all the crafting steps for these in the Mobility Guide. Now for our jewelry. First is our solar amulet. In the prefixes, you would want P1 spirit, maximum life, or increased maximum life, or in best case scenario, both. For the suffixes, you would want at least +3 to melee skills, resistances, and increased gem quality. Make sure to anoint it with Paragon for even more gem quality. Crafting this amulet is fully deterministic, and I've written all the crafting steps for it in the guide too. After that come both our rings, the Blistering Bond, which you already know what it does, and a rare Unset Ring. An Unset Ring base is very important here because we need an extra skill slot to socket in Rake. In the prefixes, you would want flat fire damage, flat lightning damage, and maximum life. For the suffix, look for resistances and strength. If you're still lacking strength, you can get a Blistering Bond ring corrupted with strength implicit too. Lastly is our belt. Look for armor and maximum life in the prefixes. In the suffixes, look for high resistances, preferably chaos resistance. This can easily be done with Void Flux to swap all other resistances to chaos resistance. For this build, we are using 3 jewels, 2 rare jewels and 1 unique jewel. Let's start with the rare jewels. First, we have a very large time loss sapphire jewel socketed near Unbending, which grants increased damage, duration, and chance to inflict ailments per allocated notable. This jewel provides crazy boost to our build, as it gives 70% increased ailment magnitude, 50% increased ailment duration, and 70% increased chance to inflict ailments too. Next, we have a rare 5 modifier diamond jewel, which grants us a lot, and I mean a lot, of ailment magnitude. Lastly, we have our unique jewel, Prism of Belief, which grants +3 to level of perfect strike skills. This jewel can cost anywhere from 30 to 50 divines. It's not possible to cover every single thing in such a short video. So to help you out with the build and provide even more information, I have once again written a detailed mobility guide. Do check it out as it's much more detailed. As always, thanks for watching Exile.